It was a night like any other, stars twinkled in the sky, people went about their lives. But then, something extraordinary happened. A bright light streaked across the heavens. It was a meteor, bigger than any we'd seen before. It blazed through our atmosphere at incredible speed. The meteor didn't burn up. Instead, it crashed into a field just outside of town. The impact shook the ground for miles around. A plume of dust and debris rose into the air. It was visible for miles. Local authorities rushed to the scene, not knowing what to expect. As the dust settled, something strange began to happen. The meteor wasn't just a rock from space, it was a vessel. And it wasn't empty. Creatures began to emerge from within. They were unlike anything we'd ever seen before. Alien predators had arrived on Earth. These beings were not friendly. They were not here to make peace. Their intentions were clear from the start. They attacked without warning. They were fast, strong, and armed with advanced technology. Humanity was facing a threat unlike any in our history. The invasion had begun. In a small house on the outskirts of town lived Hume Castro. He was an ordinary man. He worked as a high school science teacher. Hume loved to inspire young minds about the wonders of the universe. He never imagined he'd face those wonders head-on. Hume was watching the news when the meteor struck. He saw the footage of the impact. He heard the reports of strange creatures emerging. At first he couldn't believe it. Aliens? Here? It seemed impossible. But as more reports came in, the reality sank in. Despite his scientific background, Hume had always been fascinated by history. He had a particular interest in ancient weaponry. In his study hung a replica of a medieval sword. It was more than just decoration to him. Hume had trained in swordsmanship as a hobby for years. Little did Hume know, his unique combination of scientific knowledge and sword skills would soon be put to the test. As he watched the chaos unfold on TV, something stirred within him, a sense of duty, a call to action. Hume Castro was about to become more than just a teacher. He was about to become Earth's unlikely champion. News of the alien invasion spread like wildfire. Social media exploded with posts and videos. TV channels ran non-stop coverage. People were scared. They didn't know what to do. The government urged everyone to stay calm, but panic was setting in. In cities across the country, chaos erupted. People rushed to stores to stock up on supplies. Traffic jammed the highways as many tried to flee. Emergency services were overwhelmed with calls. The police and military mobilized, but they were facing an unknown enemy. Scientists scrambled to understand the threat. They analyzed every piece of data they could get, but the aliens' technology was far beyond our own. Our weapons seemed ineffective against them. It was a David versus Goliath situation, and humanity was David. As the hours passed, the situation grew more dire. The alien predators were spreading out from the crash site. They seemed unstoppable. Reports of attacks came in from neighboring towns. The death toll was rising. People were losing hope. It seemed like the end of the world was upon us. Hume Castro couldn't sit idle any longer. He knew he had to do something. But what could one man do against an alien invasion? The answer came to him as he looked at his sword. It wasn't about the weapon, it was about courage, about standing up when others couldn't. He made his decision. Hume would face the aliens head-on. It was crazy. It was dangerous. But he felt it was necessary. Someone had to take a stand. Someone had to show that humanity wouldn't go down without a fight. Hume would be that someone. Hume's wife and children were scared. They begged him not to go, but he explained his reasons. He told them about bravery, about doing what's right, even when it's hard. With tears in their eyes, they hugged him goodbye. They knew they might never see him again. As Hume stepped out of his house, sword in hand, he felt a mix of fear and resolve. He didn't know if he could make a difference. He didn't know if he would survive, but he knew he had to try. With a deep breath, he set off towards the alien-infested area. The battle for Earth was about to begin. Section 5. Preparing for battle. Hume's journey to the alien-infested area was tense. The streets were eerily empty. Abandoned cars littered the road. Signs of panic were everywhere. But Hume pressed on. He had a mission. He couldn't turn back now. As he got closer, he could hear strange noises. Unearthly sounds that sent chills down his spine. But Hume didn't let fear stop him. He gripped his sword tighter. He remembered his training. He focused on his breathing. He was preparing himself, mentally and physically, for what lay ahead. Hume knew he needed more than just his sword. He stopped at a sporting goods store. It had already been looted, but he found some useful items: a sturdy backpack, some rope, a first aid kit. He even found a helmet. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. As night fell, Hume reached the outskirts of the affected area. He could see strange lights in the distance. Alien technology at work. The air felt different here, charged with an otherworldly energy. Hume took cover behind a fallen tree. He would rest here for a few hours. Tomorrow he would face the aliens head-on. Section 6. Face-to-face with alien predators. Dawn broke and Hume was ready. He moved silently through the devastated landscape. Buildings were damaged, cars were overturned, and then he saw them, the alien predators. They were tall with multiple limbs. Their skin shimmered like metal. Hume's heart raced. These creatures were terrifying up close. They moved with inhuman speed and grace. Their weapons glowed with strange energy. For a moment Hume doubted himself. How could he possibly fight these beings? But he steeled his resolve. He had come too far to turn back now. The aliens hadn't noticed him yet. Hume used this to his advantage. He observed their movements. He looked for weaknesses. His scientific mind analyzed their behavior. He noticed patterns, predictable routines. Maybe, just maybe, he could use this knowledge. Suddenly one of the aliens turned. It looked right at Hume. Its eyes glowed with an eerie light. It made a sound like screeching metal. Hume knew his moment had come. With a deep breath he raised his sword. The battle was about to begin. Earth's fate hung in the balance. Section 7. The struggle begins. The alien charged at Hume with incredible speed. Its limbs were a blur of motion. Hume barely had time to react. He dodged to the side, feeling the rush of air as the alien passed. His heart pounded in his chest. This was real. This was happening. Hume swung his sword. The blade connected with the alien's metallic skin. To his surprise, it cut through. The alien screeched in pain. Its strange blood oozed from the wound. Hume felt a glimmer of hope. These creatures weren't invincible. They could be hurt, but the fight was far from over. More aliens were alerted by the commotion. They converged on Hume's position. He was surrounded, outnumbered. The odds seemed impossible, but Hume didn't give up. He remembered why he was here, to protect his family, his students, his world. With renewed determination, Hume fought on. He ducked and weaved between the aliens' attacks. He used his sword with skill and precision. His years of training were paying off, but the aliens were relentless. For everyone he struck down, two more seemed to take its place. Hume was tiring. He knew he couldn't keep this up forever. Section 8. Sword versus alien technology. The aliens' weapons were unlike anything Hume had ever seen. They fired beams of energy that scorched everything they touched. Hume had to be constantly on the move. One hit from those weapons could be fatal. His sword seemed primitive in comparison. But Hume had one advantage: unpredictability. The aliens' movements were precise, almost robotic. Hume's human instincts and creativity kept them off balance. He used the environment to his advantage. He toppled debris onto them. He led them into traps. His sword may have been low-tech, but it was effective. As the battle raged on, Hume made a crucial observation. The aliens relied heavily on their technology. When separated from their weapons, they were vulnerable. Hume focused his attacks on disarming them. It was dangerous, but it was working. One by one, he was evening the odds. The tide of the battle was turning. Hume's sword flashed in the sunlight as he fought. He was covered in sweat and alien blood. His muscles ached, but he pressed on. He could feel the aliens' confusion. They hadn't expected this kind of resistance, especially not from a single human with a sword. Section 9. Turning the tide. Hume's success didn't go unnoticed. As he fought, he saw movement from the corner of his eye. At first, he feared more aliens, but it was humans, people who had been hiding. They saw Hume fighting, they saw him winning, and it gave them courage. Slowly, cautiously, people began to join the fight. They used whatever they could find as weapons: pipes, bricks, even their bare hands. Hume's bravery had inspired them. They weren't going to let their world be taken without a fight. The battle was no longer one man against an alien horde, it was humanity united. The aliens were caught off guard by this sudden uprising. They had expected easy prey. Instead, they found a species willing to fight to the last. Hume led the charge. His sword blazed a path through the alien ranks. He shouted encouragement to his fellow humans. Together they pushed the aliens back. As the battle raged, news spread. More people joined the fight. The military, seeing the success of Hume and the civilians, launched a coordinated attack. The aliens found themselves overwhelmed. Their superior technology couldn't match the sheer determination and numbers of humanity. For the first time since their arrival, the aliens began to retreat. Section 10. Victory at last. The final push was intense. Hume and the gathered humans pressed their advantage. They drove the aliens back towards their crashed ship. The air was filled with the sounds of battle, the clash of weapons, the cries of the wounded. But through it all there was hope. Victory was within reach. With a mighty effort, Hume led the charge into the alien ship itself. The interior was bizarre, filled with strange technology and pulsing lights, but Hume didn't let it distract him. He fought his way to what seemed to be the control room. There he faced the alien leader. The final battle was fierce. The alien leader was stronger, faster than the others. But Hume had come too far to fail now. With all his remaining strength, he swung his sword. The blade struck true. The alien leader fell, and with it, the invasion crumbled. The remaining aliens, seeing their leader defeated, fled. They activated some sort of emergency protocol in their ship. It began to hum with energy. Hume and the others barely had time to escape before the ship took off. It streaked into the sky, disappearing among the stars. The Earth was saved. Humanity had won. Section 11. A Hero's Welcome and Lessons Learned. As the dust settled, the full impact of what had happened began to sink in. Hume emerged from the battlefield, battered but alive. He was hailed as a hero. People cheered his name. News cameras captured the moment. Hume Castro, the teacher who saved the world. But Hume knew he wasn't the only hero. He made sure to recognize the bravery of every person who had joined the fight. From the civilians who picked up makeshift weapons to the soldiers who arrived to help. It had been a team effort, humanity united against a common threat. In the days that followed, Hume was asked to speak to the nation. He talked about bravery, about facing your fears. He emphasized that heroism isn't about having superpowers or advanced technology. It's about having the courage to stand up for what's right, even when the odds seem impossible. As life slowly returned to normal, Hume went back to teaching. But things were different now. His students looked at him with new respect, and when he taught about the vastness of space, there was a new sense of wonder and caution. The universe, they all knew now, was full of both dangers and opportunities, and humanity was ready to face whatever came next, together.